Good morning, everyone. So, today we have someone who is an experienced leader with over 17 years of organizational development experience and strategic human resources work, with experience with Fortune 500 companies and nonprofit organizations. He is an expert in managing teams that range from over in one person to over 18,000 people. So, he definitely knows how to manage a big team and a small team, and we definitely love to hear and learn from him. So, let's welcome Brad on 10 Minutes of Hiding Wisdom. Hi, Brad. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon, good morning. Hello, how are you? I'm doing just great, thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm doing well as well. Just Monday, easing in into the weekend. Not a big fan of Mondays, but the show must go on.
I get it.
So, Brad, can you tell us about where you're currently working, what the company exactly does?
Yeah, I'm the people ops director at Wowza Media Systems. We do streaming platforms, so good time to be in streaming platforms.
That's very true. So, what got you into this company? As in, like, why were you drawn to this company? Why not other companies that specifically stream?
Yeah, it was more about the size of the company and the fit of the people that I worked with. I think that that's really important. I finally reached a place in my career where fit and my belief in the people that I'm working with and a value alignment has just become far too important for me. And so that's kind of why I chose Wowza. Had great interviews, great chemistry with the folks in the team. I liked what they were about. I liked some of the benefit programs they had, and I liked how they were treating their people and their employees.
Okay, so I'm glad you found a company that's specifically aligned with what you believe in, which is very important because you do want to work for a company about which you're excited because, as in, like, yes, money can drive you to some extent, but then again, it's the purpose of an organization that you're like, okay, I want to stay, I want to make this I want to work for this company, and I want to make a difference within this company. So I can definitely see that. So I just like to hear because, as in, like, you're at quite a high position within the organization, you must deal with a lot of candidates that might apply to your company specifically. According to you, what is something that makes a person successful when applying for jobs?
Yeah, I think one of the most successful things is kind of showing your broad range of skills, right? In a small company of 130 people, which is what we are, we're looking for you to wear maybe an extra hat or two and not just be, hey, you're not going to come in and just do one thing in the finance organization. You're going to come in and do three or four different things. So people that are agile and flexible, and then certainly looking for people that are great communicators. Getting past sometimes the ATS and the recruiters is a tough thing, but being able to shine in an interview process and communicating your skills effectively and selling the company on how what your value proposition is for that company, what you can bring to make that company more successful.
That makes sense. You mentioned that you should showcase that you have a ton of skill. From what I've heard, from what I've learned, is that usually when you like display a lot of skills and everything, recruiters are like, okay, you're trying to do too much. You're all over the place. How do you create the fine line between doing too much and putting in just enough skill?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the smaller the company, right, the more skills you're actually looking for. But I think it's making sure you have that top level skill and you're selling that top level skill that company needs and that they're actually looking for in their job description. And then as a bonus, you're also sharing some of those other hats you can wear. And it's really kind of showing that willingness to say, hey, I can stuff an envelope if that's what I have to do for the company, or hey, you need to go figure out this big strategic thing that you have no clue how to do, and have that willingness to go do it. So even being able to show some of those soft skills in an interview about, hey, tell me about a project when you've shown initiative, those kind of things. Tell me about how you've gotten a project and had to completely change directions. So really preparing what those scenarios are as you're going into interviews and thinking through how is this best going to showcase those answers while keeping that top line really relevant and powerful for that company, and then showing all the extra stuff and value you can bring.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. I can see how you can do that. So, I'd, as in, like, the pandemic definitely changed the way companies hire, the way companies interact with employees. How has the transition been for you, especially when, as in, like, especially when you were looking for talent? Were you hiring during the pandemic? How have things changed for how have things changed for your company?
So interestingly enough, I actually joined this company during the
Oh, okay.
pandemic. So it wasn't until a week or two ago that I actually met the people that I'm working with for the first time. And actually, at my previous job, I actually hired someone during the pandemic and never met them in person before I changed jobs, and they worked for me for 7 months. I think the biggest thing, right, is again that versatility, that flexibility, and then showing that you get stuff done without someone having to micromanage you and check in on you and that kind of thing. It's being available on the instant messenger. You don't have to respond within 2 seconds, but you should probably respond in a reasonable amount of time. Ask your manager, ask leaders what those expectations are. I certainly believe that the workforce is going to go to a predominantly hybrid model. And so again, having that flexibility, if you want to be in an office all the time, I am sure you'll have that opportunity. If you want to be at home all the time, you can find jobs like that. But I really think that sweet spot might be the hybridization. So you get that socialization, you get that interaction, you can go stand at a whiteboard as opposed to using some sort of great online tool. But I think the Zoom meeting is here to stay. I think that being professional enough in the Zoom meetings, right, is important. Don't have silly, crazy things in the background. Make sure you at least have, decent enough clothes on for a Zoom meeting. I think it's deformalized the hiring process a little bit though, which is kind of nice and hopefully makes people a little bit more relaxed when they're at home.
I think so. I think usually, but the problem with staying at home is like because your home is your workplace, you don't know when to stop because okay, you have your laptop, you're just like, okay, this is a task that I can do. I mean, and you can like when you come back, like if you're working at an office, you come back home, you're like, okay, I leave my work there. But when you're at home, you need to actually create like the fine line when you have to stop, which is interesting because I think finding the right balance is very important. But I think it helps individuals like prepare and learn how to like schedule things, make sure that they're actually like doing things according to a schedule, which is good, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think the lines of work and life are even more blurred than they were before, and I think it's okay to not draw that line every day and say, hey, it's 7 o'clock. I can save myself a little time in the morning if I go do those 3 emails tonight. So that's not a problem as long as your company kind of expects that give and take, right? Where if I need to go see my kid's field day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they're going to be okay with that, knowing that I'm going to prove that I have done my job and I'm available and reliable and am getting things done at other times. So I think as long as you're working for a company whose values align and that they understand that you're going to do some things outside of weird hours and that you're probably going to do some things that aren't work related during the workday, I really think that's a lot of where it's here to stay. But to your point, also finding those lines when to shut it down is super important, right? No need to be doing something at 11 or 12 at night or anything like that. And you've got to make those lines that are individual to you and then set those expectations with whoever your leader is in your job, right? That's probably not the first conversation you want to have on day one, but in this day and age, that kind of conversation I think is going to come up much sooner than it would have prior to the pandemic and everybody, working at home on a regular basis.
Definitely. I think the pandemic was definitely like it had its pros and cons, but I think a lot of companies specifically have been much more flexible when it comes to actually employee schedule because they understand that yes, employees have a life, but then again, if you're accountable, if you show that you can get a task done, companies aren't really that bothered whether you're following a standard schedule from 8 to 4, which is good because I mean I think I am a person who does not really like working early mornings, so I think I've been enjoying this because I can choose my own time and everything. So it's really nice, I guess. But it varies from person to person, of course.
It does, and I'm very happy to take the commute from my bedroom to the office to the dining room table and be on email at 7:30 most mornings, and that's great to kind of get a good start on the day as well. So without having to
Definitely.
go through the rigmarole of a commute and everything.
Definitely. So, last question, Brad. Is your company hiring? What kind of roles are you looking for?
Yeah, again, we almost always have a couple roles open. we have an awesome role right now for someone who's going to come and we're looking for someone to come and be a finance systems architect and manage all of our finance systems like Zora, which is a new technology that's a great skill set for people to come find. But I know we have a UX UI designer open currently, as well as like a technical writing manager. So we definitely have varied skill sets, right? We find a need, and we definitely go and search for what we need at that point in time. I even think there's a product manager role there too. So definitely hiring and actively recruiting and love people to come and apply.
Perfect. So if people do reach out to me with interest, I will definitely forward them to you. Our time is up, Brad. It was a pleasure learning from you, your experience, specifically because you were hired during the pandemic. You hired people during the pandemic. So I think it's definitely nice to see the companies that are still going despite whatever is going on in the world, because I think you really do, as in like a lot of people have lost their jobs. So it's definitely good to see that some companies are still doing well. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us, Brad. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you.